Welcome to week 2 of the Industry Readiness Program. This week you take the PRD you wrote last week and turn it into a running scaffold without writing any of the code yourself. 13 minutes. Let's go. Last week you wrote a BISTEC persona, a PRD with functional and non-functional requirements, and a non-goals list, acceptance criteria in given when then form, and you understood your first context window. That is the spec. This week, you turn it into architecture decision records, agent executable user stories, a Speckit task plan, and a generated scaffold that actually runs. The bridge between these 2 weeks is the insight that ADRs, stories, and Speckit together become instructions Claude Code can execute. An architecture decision record has 4 parts. Context. What forced this decision? The constraint, not the wish. Decision. What you chose in one sentence. Alternatives. At least 2 rejected options with the reasoning. Consequences. What gets better, what gets worse, and what breaks later. Remember this line? Because it is the rule you will hear from every senior engineer at BISTEC. An ADR without a rejected alternative is a slogan, not a decision. 3 triggers tell you to write one. The choice constrains future choices, your database, your auth provider, your cloud. A reviewer would reasonably ask, why not X? If the answer isn't obvious, write it down. The cost of reversal is high. If backing out would take weeks, not hours, that's an ADR. Skip the ADR when the decision is trivially reversible, when there is only one serious option, or when you are using it as a status update instead of a record. Here is what a user story looks like that Claude Code can actually execute. Story SLO22 filter tickets by priority. Given a PMO user signed in when filtering by priority equals P0, then the API returns matching tickets with account badge, and P95 latency is under 250 milliseconds. The file list attached is RC server roads tickets, essence tickets page, text. Every story must have 3 things: criteria, files, and acceptance. That is the shape that agents actually execute well. GitHub Speckit breaks the pipeline into 4 phases. Constitution, rules the project never breaks. Specify your PRD in Speckit form. Run, architecture, and stack. Tasks, agent executable units. On screen is a minimal Speckit. YAML, version 1. Goals, 1 line. Tasks, a list where each item has an ID, a story reference, a prompt, and a file list. That is the whole contract. The rest is Claude Code's job. The rule of thumb for task granularity. If a task would take you more than 30 minutes to do yourself, Claude Code will quietly cut corners. Too big. With the ticket triage feature, right-sized, add path/tickets/colonnade with sort validation. When the agent surprises you, check the task first. 9 times out of 10, it was too big. Here is the full plan for this week's build. 6 tasks. T1, Prisma schema for the ticket model covering functional requirements 1 through 3. T2, the get tickets route with grouping by priority. T3, the patty switch route with sort validation. T4, a seed script with 50 fixture tickets. T5, the next. JS dashboard with priority badges. T6, GitHub actions, continuous integration covering linked, type check, test, and build. 6 tasks, about 30 minutes each. 3 hours of Claude Code runtime to go from empty repo to running scaffold. 3 inputs drive every task. The task prompt, 1 unit, 1 goal, 1 prompt from the Speckit YAML. The files list, only the paths this task edits, nothing more. The acceptance criteria, the given when then from the story, command on screen. Claude, execute Speckit, YAML task T1, attach docs, spec-bird, MD, and Prisma schema. Prisma, Claude reads the task, loads the 2 files, and produces the migration and schema change. That is the whole loop. Attach the task prompt from your Speckit YAML entry. Attach the file or files the task edits. Attach the acceptance criteria excerpt. Attach one nearest sibling file for style. That's it. Avoid the whole repo. Avoid unrelated readme files. Avoid commit history dumps. Avoid old PRDs from other features. House rule repeated every week. Fewer tokens, better answers. If in doubt, remove a file. What the command actually looks like. Claude. Execute Speckit YAML tasks T1 through T6. Attach the PRD. Attach the framework ADR. Attach the Prisma schema. Claude processes each task in sequence, writes the Prisma schema, writes the tickets route handlers, writes the seed script, writes the dashboard page, writes the GitHub Actions workflow. Then you run pm Prisma, run pm. Dashboard renders the seed data at localhost 3000/tickets. First running scaffold, spec first, no handwritten code. A 5-minute pass on generated code imports real packages, not hallucinated ones. Types, strict, no any creeping in. Error pass. Does a 400 come back as structured JSON? Tests. Did Claude add one for the new behavior? PRD alignment. Every functional requirement mentioned, no extras. Generated code is not reviewed code. Claude is a junior engineer. You are the senior. 4 symptoms and their fixes. Invented features. Claude adds endpoints you never asked for. Fix re-anchor with the only functional requirements are FR1 through FR5 from pretty.me. Remove anything else. Spec-Driven. Code uses different field names than the PRD. Fix attach the relevant section. Say use exact field names from section 4. Missing tests. Feature ships without regression coverage. Fix send the Speckit task to name the test file explicitly. Over-engineered. Abstractions nobody asked for. Fix say do not add dependencies or abstract classes. Inline the logic. 3 deliverables close week 2. First, 2 ADRs, 1 for the framework choice, 1 for the data layer, each with 2 rejected alternatives. Second, your Speckit YAML, 6 tasks mapped to user stories with prompts, files, and acceptance excerpts. Third, generated scaffold, where the Prisma migration runs clean and the Next.js dashboard renders the seed data. Commit everything to your training repo branch. Next week, we add tests and harden the API. The takeaway from week 2, Speckit is the contract between your PRD and your code. Your PRD becomes tasks. Tasks become code. The contract keeps Claude Code honest. Next week, week 3, you go deeper into Claude Code itself. Multi-file edits, API endpoints built from your PRD in a single pass, Prisma migrations generated from your ADRs, and test-driven prompting where you write a failing test first and let Claude drive it green. File today's diary entry, and I'll see you in week 3.